My glass shall not remind me I am old, so long as youth and thou are of one date. But when in thee time's furrows I behold, then look I death my days should expiate, for all that beauty which doth cover thee is but the seemly raiment of my heart, which in thy breast doth lie, as thine in me. How can I then be elder than thou art? Oh, therefore, love, be of thyself so wary, as I, not for myself, but for thee will, bearing thy heart, which I shall keep so chary, as tender nurse her babe from faring ill. Presume not on thy heart when mine is slain. Thou gav'st me thine, not to give back again. That was Sonnet 22. This one is, I actually have a funny story about this one. So I wrote this down. I wrote the last line down incorrectly. I wrote, preserve not on thy heart when mine is slain, and it's presume not on thy heart when mine is slain. And they do have very different meanings. So I had when I was thinking preserve not on thy heart when mine is slain, I was interpreting the end of that little couplet to mean don't, telling the fairies, don't place all your happiness on me when I'm gone. Where presume not on thy heart when mine is slain kind of says, I interpret that to mean when one of us dies, the other dies. That kind of idea of, we're so in love that life's not worth living without the other. And that gets into some kind of dangerous territory, in my opinion, as far as love's concerned. I got that kind of twinge of uneasiness. Also on the then look I death my days should expiate. That as soon as I start seeing, and it's actually very specific. He says, but when in thee time's furrows I behold. So he's not just saying when you get old, he's saying when I start seeing you get old. It's very selfish, like when I can tell how old you've become, then I don't really want to live anymore. Like, what the hell, man? That's kind of unsettling. When I think real love, I think, yes, you're going to have wistful memories of when you were both young and vital, but there's also something to be said for experiencing old age with another person, coming from someone who hasn't been there. So take that for what you will. But this sonnet there's some real beauty to the language of this kind of intermingled love, intermingled lives, intermingled souls. I really like that line of for all that beauty which doth cover thee is but the seemly raiment of my heart. Because that first line makes you think like, oh, he's talking about beauty covering this person as like... And so when I first read that line, I was like, what the hell? Because I was interpreting that as beauty, this thing that he loves about the fair youth, is just covering something, and that he's infatuated with this thing because it's beautiful and he doesn't care what's underneath. But in a kind of out of care, like I guess in a shift from maybe some previous sonnets, that line means you're beautiful because I love you, and that's kind of that's a cool thought in any context, but also cool to see that shift from some of the previous sonnets, which seem to emphasize you're so beautiful, that's why I love you. And so I really liked that line, but the way it ended I don't know how well it sits with me, because I would tend to disagree with the thought that, like, when one of us dies, that's it, you might as well kill yourself. Like, are you serious? That's bullshit. Go be happy. Like, what the hell? I don't know. But yeah, so that was interesting, and it was funny because I don't think I would have had that thought had I scanned that or written that line down correctly. Um, Another thing that I found when I was researching is that line, "as tender nurse her babe from faring ill." When I was doing some research about the meaning of some of these lines, I didn't realize that I didn't really ever think about the etymology of farewell as a like greeting or like goodbye. Um, Faring ill versus faring well. Like when you say farewell, you're saying I hope you stay healthy in this time that we're apart until we next meet. And I had never thought about where that word came from. So that was kind of interesting to faring ill versus faring well. Uh, so that was fun. Yeah, and then there was one other thing that I thought was cool. Uh, the first two lines when he talks about um, so long as youth and thou are of one date. Because when you hear youth, I was like, oh, he's talking about the fair youth. But he talks about youth as, I guess you could say, a state of being, but also he almost clearly defines it as a specific moment in time. Or you could maybe interpret it as youth as this kind of youth as something an abstract person, kind of like nature being an abstract something with something personified. Because he talks about nature in other sonnets, like nature and her wrath, and so youth as a personified construct that exists in a specific moment in time. And so that idea of a person reaching the same age as youth and then aging past where youth is, I thought was a really cool play on words. So yeah, that was a cool one. Sonnet 23 next week. Yeah, that should be fun. Cool. It's really hot. Go outside and have fun. It's a beautiful day.